We all know that size matters, but how much does it really matter? I got the craziest story for you guys. I don't even know how to intro it. So just stick around because there's a ton of lessons here. All right, all right. So if you got any questions, throw them in the chat. Throw a little, super chat or something like that my way just for the algorithms. And we'll get started here. This is so much crap to unpack here. All right. But this is going to point to a lot of things that I've been saying. Some of them have been saying lately that you guys sort of need to understand. One of them is I can't stress enough to never open your relationship to other dudes. All right. There seems to be a lot of exploration with that and a lot of social narratives that point men towards wanting to allow that or try that out. Um, Girls wanting to being complacent and wanting to do that, and then it destroys relationships, right? So like if you want an actual relationship, not something just casual or whatever, but if you're wanting to like have an actual relationship that's going to last, she can't be, getting deed down by other dudes. It's the cycle. There's a psychological dynamic there that happens when a woman is being with other men rather than her primary partner, and it will never work. It'll never work the way that you want. Not for very long, at least, or for long term. So there's that point. Of course, talked at length about that a couple of shows ago with the whole destiny thing. Not to make him, not to crap all over him. I mean, it's not. I mean, having a relationship end and having to learn things the hard way, if you even learned anything, is tough. So it's not wishing ill will on anybody, but there's lessons there. So we're gonna get into lessons here on that. But then we're also going to touch on the issue of size. Okay. These are and cucking and cuck psychology. So my most popular video, unfortunately, is a couple videos I've done on cucking and cuck psychology and what goes on in a woman's brain and why that is appealing to a woman. And I'm not recommending that, guys, you go out and get yourself cucked either. For those of you who are new, that's not the recommendation, but it's the understanding of the psychology behind that, because there's innate female psychology that that goes with that. I'll probably after the show link up some stuff, where you can go to those. But if you go to my channel after the show and go look up my most popular videos, and unfortunately, like I said, are on the cucking psychology, because it's not a well understood thing, and not many people are breaking it down in the way that have broken it down. So there's that aspect of things, but that's part of the story. And then the other part is the size, right? So size is a big thing for dudes. No pun intended. It's guys get a lot of their self-esteem and insecurities. We'll use the insecurity button for this one. They get insecure about their physical size, right, and stuff when it comes down to the D, right? And there's a lot of stuff around that. Okay, a lot of bull stuff around that for guys who are well endowed as well as guys who are not as well endowed. There's a lot of struggles and issues with that, a lot of ego protection, and a lot of shaming from females in their own subtle way sometimes, where they're trying not to sound shaming, but they really are, and it's so much around that. And I've had so many guys message me with these, you guys will latch on to what makes you insecure, and you'll just have black and white thinking, either or fallacies regarding that one thing. That one thing that makes you insecure will be the one thing that you focus on. It's like, well, I can't have any girls ever love me because my D is not big enough. If she ever had a bigger penis than my penis, then I'll never be enough for her. And so these things are are actually a lot of bullshit. All right. And I've gone through other videos. I've broken down the size thing, what women actually prefer, and it's not what you think. All right. And size does matter, just like looks or attractiveness matters. All right. But it's not the only driving factor when a girl is being turned on by you or deciding whether you're somebody she wants to mate with, have sex with, or have a long-term relationship with. It's not the only factor. No matter how many times I say it, no matter what way I say it, guys go default back to their own bitch ass insecurities surrounding the thing that they're insecure about. And it's insanity, right? And then, so a friend of mine had brought up this little story he had found on Reddit, and Reddit, of course. He always questions of whether a story is true or not. I believe this one is, based on how much time and energy was put into making it. And, but I've heard this sort of thing before. This is not the first time I've heard this, where a girl is head over heels and the best sex partner she has had is a smaller dude, and the well-endowed dude loses out in that sense, and so it's an eye opener. It's an eye opener to, the guys that are well endowed as well. It's like, just because you're packing heat, that doesn't mean that the rest of the things that you need to bring to the table, especially in the bedroom, don't need to be there. And what it really boils down to, it's like, what makes you irreplaceable, and what makes you able to, we'll say, be selected. We're talking about this, right? For women to want to select you versus selecting another dude, it actually boils down to your inner game. It actually boils down to your frame, which is part of your inner game, your sense of self, your identity, your confidence, and all of those things translate to your ability to pursue skills and pursue things in your life, whether it's bedroom skills, physical skills, just communication skills. You pursue the world differently with a strong, resilient state of mind than those of you guys who are riddled with anxieties and insecurities. You guys who are riddled with anxieties and insecurities, which is, by the way, most of you, all right, most of you don't pursue the world the same way. And that means you won't get skills in certain areas. You won't have certain things going for you in certain areas. You'll set yourself up for failure in certain ways, because what men like to do is they ego protect them. They ego protect. They pretend problems don't exist. They rationalize their way around doing things to make themselves better. They get focused on things that don't matter, like what women today in the West are doing and whatever the hell, you know what I mean? It's all things, that are just distracting you from your own shit. You need to work on it. And guys who are willing to face their problems dead on and face their shortcomings dead on and go through it, and be better because of them, those are the guys that just do better. That translates to better results all around. And then, of course, there's your mental framework and your emotional framework when you're actually with girls, when you're not riddled with anxieties, insecurities, and needs to protect your own ego. You show up a certain way, and that's attractive, and it's more attractive. And some of you guys will be like, yeah, well, but you can just change your psychology, but you can't change your D size as easily. Really? Really? Well, then why haven't you changed it? Why don't most people change it then? Oh, because it's not as easy. That's why. Because it's the most overlooked and underrated thing is your inner game. You all want to focus on other things that you can't change, but those other things aren't as impacting. They don't matter. It's actually a way to protect your own ego and protect yourself from becoming better despite what shortcomings you have, by focusing on the things you can't change or whatever, like the things that you can alter like a little bit. Like you can alter your size a little bit, got Sterling Cooper. I've had him on here, and we has some he talks about in his book ways to increase size and stuff like that. But and you can do it, sure. It's beneficial for some guys who are on the smaller side, but you won't see different results if you're like average. The results you would see aren't because of your size increase. There's results you'll see are from right here, your inner game, how you see yourself. This is even somewhat true with the gym. Now, the gym, you do have objectively better results with women because, at least on the attractiveness side of things, when you go from out of shape to in shape, especially if you go from like average shape to really good shape where like your abs are showing on the beach, you know what I mean? 10% body fat or less kind of thing for the beach. Yeah, you get a lot of looks. That's objective, right? You get a lot of looks, a lot of things. But the results of women in that sense is going to come more from the confidence you gain from those looks and the things that are going on inside of you that are going to allow you to show up better with women when you are interacting with them. And so this is a story, right? And it's a interesting story from a girl's perspective. It's going to illustrate so many of these points. So some of you guys are focused really on the wrong thing, and you're going to see how that turns out for this guy, right? So I'll get it started with a story. All right, story time. So I'm going to try to censor myself as much as I can because there's some sexual stuff here, right? All right, Big D boyfriend, 24, who thinks he is a sex god, was unhappy about how our threesome went, and that turned me on, and that turns me on. So back to the cuck psychology. He was unhappy about how the threesome went, and his unhappiness turned her on. Okay, and the threesome was is 2 dudes, 1 girl threesome. Small D guy, age 19, made me 22 orgasm while he was watching. So that's the title of this. All right, long ass title. All right. So my boyfriend and I wanted to try a threesome. He wanted a male, female, and I wanted a male, male, female. So we agreed to try both. The male, female threesome was fun for both of us. This chick's ratchet, by the way. To get that out of the way right now, Debbie, who wrote this, is from the streets for sure, right? And then I reminded him that now we also have a male, a female threesome we have to have. Okay, so I'll stop right there. No, it's just in the middle here, but this goes back to what I was saying. Listen, women perceive fairness differently than men, okay? This is a general thing. This has been studied. This has been researched. This is why women are more collective, more tendency to do things that are like politically, like socially aware things, more tendency to be more leftist, more tendency to lean towards communism, even. Not that all leftists are, not that all Democrats are communists or anything, but you get what I mean. Like they lean towards that collectivist stuff, where men tend to lead more towards individual stuff, individual performance. Okay. And we know this from a lot of research. And so when a guy is like, this is where guys find themselves getting trapped. They're like, oh, I want to have a threesome with 2 chicks. And the chick is like, yeah, cool. We can do that if I can have a threesome with 2 guys. Never agree to that. And first of all, it's a red flag if that's her negotiation piece to begin with. That already indicates she probably doesn't see you as the best choice, right? Or that she just truly doesn't want to do a threesome and wants to see how you're going to react to her saying, well, why don't we, if you're going to do that, then why don't we have 2 dudes, right? Never agree to that. Men and women are different. There is no equality. That's a myth. There's fairness. You can have fairness, but you can't have equality. You're not comparing 2 apples or 2 oranges, all right? males and females are different down to brain function. So you can have fairness, okay, between an apple and an orange, but you can't have equality because they're two different things. All right. They're different objects, and men and women are different. So, don't fall into a woman's frame. And this goes back to this whole opening up the relationship idea, right? Oh, well, I want to bring in other chicks, or I want to be around, I want to sleep with other women. Well, really, we should just have, an open relationship so she sleeps with other guys. Nope. Wrong. Okay. You'll fail your relationship. You'll screw yourself because she'll end up cucking you. And you'll see she will end up cucking you. In this case, it's directly, but mentally, she'll do it. She'll be cucking you when she's with that other guy, and you'll lose a relationship eventually. Every time. All right. So you are stuck with, remember, there are no like good or bad choices necessarily. There are only trade-offs. The trade-off to poly, open, her being with any other dude in any capacity, the trade-off is losing her, losing the relationship. That is the trade-off. The trade-off between having other girls is not losing necessarily the relationship, but other things you'll have to deal with, right? And so your choices are monogamy. If you want a long-term relationship to succeed, your choices are to try to make monogamy work, or to try to make some sort of open scenario with other girls involved work, different forms of harem structures, right? Or you just don't have a long-term relationship. Like, those are your choices, okay? These are the trade-offs. All right, so back to the story. My boyfriend has a very big peen, okay? And an even bigger ego. He is convinced he is a sex god. Honestly, though, he's pretty average in bed, and I think he just relies on his D size and believes that because of that, he is automatically a sex god. I like his big D, and sex with him is fun, but I had much better sex with other guys. All right. So this is going to my more well-endowed guys in the room here. All right. Just because you're packing heat, all right, that doesn't mean that you can negate having skills. And in fact, you have to modify and think about your technique when you are a bit larger, because you might be too much for the girl and create situations where she's actually uncomfortable. And it's not that she doesn't like the idea of being with a guy who's big. It's not like she doesn't like that novelty. Trust me, she does. But it's like, if you don't handle her appropriately, and different girls will be a little bit different, she's not going to have the greatest experience, or she'll have a subpar experience, because, it's a lot to take a bigger guy like that. All right. And your psychological frame is more important, and the connection you have with this person and knowing how to push those buttons is more important. This is why, now's a good time to introduce the idea, but why you would want to sign up for a year-long program where we talk about sexual skill and technique. And at some point, maybe I will have it as a separate course that's lower cost or whatever, but maybe not. And the reason why I say maybe not is because in order to bring the sexual skill to the table, a lot of that relies on right here, your inner game being sorted out. And a lot of you guys have no frame in your lives. None. Okay. You're reactive to your problems. You get a little bit of pain because a girl's angry with you, or she's mad at you, or she's going to cross a boundary and not follow what you say, or, the sex goes down, or there's some bedroom issues, whatever it may be. You guys get some pain. That's when you react to that and want to try to solve the problem. And you're problem solution focused and not self-focused. You're not focusing on yourself in order to make yourself better so these problems don't occur to begin with. That takes some work and time. That's why I offer a year-long coaching program. You can book me one-on-one. I'm expensive for that, but you can do that, and that's fine. And there's a reason for that, because guys will come to me with their reactive problem, and I'll give them the best advice to solve their reactive problem, but then, and they'll solve it. Most of the time they will. If they do what I say, they generally will solve it. But here's what happens. It's only a temporary fix. A month or 2 months later, they're in the same spot. And so this is why I have guys commit to a year with me. They might be tight on our coaching calls, like showing up, asking questions, getting a behavioral plan, executing, doing some inner game practices, do some things with me even in session, like, maybe a little hypnosis or, some EMDR, some unwinding some different stuff, right? A little bit of dialectical behavioral therapy techniques, different things. And then but then they execute, and then things get better. What happens is I don't hear from them as much, right? And this is usually at first. I don't really hear from them as much. And some of these guys will be doing some work as I've assigned every day. And some of them just sort of fall off because the problem that we were trying to solve went away. And then they're like, oh, well, cool, but I solved that problem. I'm in this group now, whatever. And then I would hear from them. And then like a month, 2 months later, they pop up again. Oh, I got this problem again. Right. And then I have that conversation with them at that point. Okay. And then they're like, oh, and they're glad they've had a group membership for a year versus trying to book me one-on-one, because that would have been more expensive for them actually. And they end up, realizing that, okay, I have to do a little bit of work on myself in this area every single day, every single week. And it's actually kind of fun. It's not this massive amount of effort. It doesn't take away from things. It's only miserable or hard when my ego is protecting myself. When I'm ego protecting and I can't handle my little ego, my fragile ego getting damaged, realizing I don't know everything, or realize I'm not the best at everything. When I can get over that, which, by the way, is the start of having a true sense of inner confidence, and I can just start working a little bit every single day to make myself a little bit better every day, then I don't have these massive blowups and problems in my life. Like, whoa, light bulb. And that's why guys return. We've solved all their problems in a year. They just want to get better, so they come back for year 2 or year 3. So anyways, links in the description. It's a free consult to see if you're a good fit for a year-long program. But look, that's why we do this, all right? We do it because it takes work, and you got to work on yourself a little bit at a time, all right? So back to the story. So she was, he's in her frame, okay? They had the 2 chicks. Now she's like, I want another guy. So then she goes, all right, so he's all agreement with, by the way, social conditioning and internet says, well, that's fair. And, you should, as a confident man, allow your girl to get D down in front of you by another dude. I'm telling you guys, don't do it. All right. But anyways, back to the story. She says, I then found a guy for a threesome, and my boyfriend agreed. I had a lot of fun with 2 guys. We had a very long foreplay, and I also vibed very well with the other guy. I felt like he was creative in bed and just knew how to touch me more than my boyfriend. Ha ha. And he ate my vajee. I'm trying to censor this thing for YouTube so I don't get completely banned off of here. And he ate my vajee, and he was very good at it. So we're going to have really middle school names for female and male body parts. That's what we've graduated to. Then we started effing, banging. The other guy went first and banged me doggy style while I gave my boyfriend a BJ. While the guy smashed me, he touched me with his hand on my VJ. And I didn't realize how much I'd have to censor this to tell the story. Debs is open-minded. Definitely open-minded girl. And it was just fantastic. Just knew how to touch me and just had the rhythm with his hand and his D. I liked that he started slow and soft, and it became harder bit by bit. By the way, this is just her preference. Don't take there's some universality here, but don't take like this as sex advice from Deb. Okay. My boyfriend usually starts very hard and fast, very hard and fast. It just got more and more intense. To be honest, the sex was much better than it ever was with my boyfriend. And I felt like it was already bothering my boyfriend than how much I was enjoying it. And then I had a really super intense orgasm and I was really loud during it. With my boyfriend, I almost never have orgasms. The guy continued to bang me and then he did something which was kind of mean. He grabbed my neck and pushed my head super hard on the bed so I couldn't BJ my boyfriend's D anymore. I found this move really mean, but to be honest, that's exactly what made me extremely horny. He banged me extremely hard for a few minutes. He beat me, scratched me, and it was just amazing. Maybe the best sex I ever had. I found this guy's dominance just so attractive. After that, it was my boyfriend's turn. But he had problems, naturally. He had problems to get an erection for some time, and he gave up after like 5 minutes. The other guy then banged me again, and it felt amazing. Okay, we'll stop there. Part of the reason she's getting so turned on by this is because she is degrading the boyfriend. That's cuck psychology. Remember, when women, it doesn't matter whether she's in a threesome, whether you're in a happy marriage with your wife, okay? Doesn't matter how wholesome the sex is or how, degenerate it is. She is always cucking somebody. Remember that if you don't get this, and this is mentally, okay? If you don't get this, then you need to go watch those videos I did because I'm not going to re-explain it for an hour and a half, okay? It takes so long to explain it, besides the fact that I'm a little bit wordy, okay, and all that. But besides that, it takes long to explain it because it's a whole paradigm that you can't wrap your head around if you've never heard it before. And women know it's true too, but they're not aware of it in the same way. So everybody has a hard time wrapping their head around this because they know, like when I say it, you all know it's true. You all know what I'm saying is fact, but it also goes against everything that you've been taught or learned and everything that you want to believe and everything that women want to believe about themselves even. Women don't want guys to know that this exists. And she is only verbalizing what all women are thinking when they are having sex with the best dude that they're having sex with, which is they feel happy because it's hypergamy, right? They feel happy that they are meeting their match. This is their best dude, which means in order to believe he's the best, there has to be a level of degrading that's done with the other guys. Well, he was just not good with his technique, or he was too small, he was too big, he was just not good at, whatever, he didn't hit me just right like this guy does. He doesn't, whatever it is she'll use to like if she were to put it to rational thought, it would come out as emasculation or degrading to the other men she's been with in favor of her best choice. All right, that's how it works. She has to know that the person that's her best is the best, right? And there may be some objectivity to that, but there's also a lot of it's based on subjective experience. So in this case, there's a lot of reasons that her boyfriend was not the best for her. For one, well, you'll find out as I read along, but for one is he wasn't the best to begin with for her, and he thought he ego protected because he was big. Right. So he was well endowed. So he walked around like he was king shit, and he wasn't the best she ever had. And that angered her. That makes her spiteful towards him. Why does it make her spiteful towards him? It's not his ego, because if he was the best she ever had and he had a bit of an ego about it, she might be like, you're an asshole, but she's not going to be spiteful about it. It's the fact that she was settled in with a guy who, I'm sure when she settled in with this guy, saw all of his potential. I'm sure him being well endowed was a plus at first, but then when the sex never got good for her, never really got better than average for her, it was just a guy with, who was well endowed, just delivering average sex for her, and she starts thinking in her Rolodex of partners, well, geez, I've had a lot better than this. She resents now her partner. She resents him for not being better. This cuck psychology is the root of why most of your husbands out there get treated like trash by their women. The guy, she has hopes when she marries this guy that he can match up or live up to her best choice. And when he doesn't, she resents him. And that resentment shows up in all sorts of ways, right? So you got to understand, this isn't just, Debbie from the streets that thinks this way. She is demonstrating what all women think in the form of this, degenerate sexual stuff, right? So back to the story now. So he went a second round with her, all right? I had a feeling my boyfriend was totally pissed, but he acted as if everything was cool. Well, he must listen to some of the coaches out there. Pretend like it doesn't bother you. Act like things are cool, man. Being indifferent, that's alpha. Right. I'm cool. Here's having going around 2 or 3 with another guy. I'm cool. Do I look alpha yet? It's stupid, man. So much stupid shit on the internet, bro. I'll tell you what. Fucking dating coaches, right? So, somehow I have the feeling his view that he is the sex god is destroyed. She has that feeling. She's pretty happy about it. Overall, the sex was incredibly good, and I would incredibly like to sleep with this other guy again. And I know it sounds wrong, but somehow it totally excited me that my boyfriend was humiliated. Oh, I did not know that I am so sadistic. She probably didn't, though, right? Like, this is a side of every woman that they don't know that they have. A lot of them are not aware, and they don't want to be aware of it. That's for sure. And on my body, there are scratches and bruises everywhere from the sex. And thinking about my boyfriend, seeing it makes me horny. But I try to hide them because I don't want to hurt his feelings. But there are just so many. Bruises and scratches. Yeah, so it's like she has on the one hand, she doesn't want to hurt the boyfriend's feelings, but on the other hand, she likes it. Right? And when girls have that little smirk and use that little dualistic language, when you guys ask an insecure question, like, well, was the other boyfriend good at sex? Or, tell me, you guys ask that question, right? About, or do you think that whatever, you think I'm the best looking guy you've been with, or am I the best, and she's like, yeah, well, I liked it with my other boyfriend. He was just different, and when she gives that answer, trust me, she's enjoying it. She doesn't like to admit it. She doesn't like that she enjoys it, but she's enjoying it. When she smells weakness, when women smell weakness, they love to use that and capitalize on that against you. It's a feeling of power that they have, right? Now, if you're the best she's ever had and she knows it and feels it, right? A lot of these things aren't showing up, but she'll actually be biased the other way. She doesn't want to feel like that sadistic sense of, I got this dude, with the best usually that she's ever had. It's with guys that she's not so sure. If she thinks she can do better, that's when she falls into this little sadistic pattern. That's what they all do. It's normal. It's female psychology. It's what it is. All right. After I posted this, I got a lot of messages from people who informed me about cuckold relationships. I never heard of it before. Now I did some research, and maybe I would like to have an open relationship or a cuckold relationship. But I also don't want to lose my boyfriend because I love him. and also want him to improve his sex skills and I want to have good sex with him. Okay, so right there, that illustrates general female psychology. Doesn't matter that Debbie's from the streets. This is in general. Women will get with guys with their potential. Chances are the boyfriend might even be better looking. He looks better. He's bigger and more endowed. He's got more things going for him, but his internal frame is what's messed up. So she is hoping that she can make him and mold him into the guy she would want. The problem with that is if the girl can actually mold you into the guy that she wants, then she won't want you, because she doesn't want to mold and teach a guy how to be a man. She wants a guy to be the man, and for her to show up and be overwhelmed by that and to be led by that and dominated by that. She doesn't want to have to teach and train a guy. I mean, most women. So there's some pathological counter examples, and I say pathological because there's usually a pathology behind it, a traumatic experience with men, or something has gone on, and there's a dynamic shift in the need for dominance and the polarity shift, right? But most women, without that happening, okay, they want the guy to show up to be the man, to be dominant. If she has to train you how to do that, she feels like she has to teach you how to do that, it's not going to work. All right. And you'll see. So, to the story. Today, I talked with my boyfriend and what happened, and about what happened some days ago when another guy in a MMF threesome gave me, she's recapping on the story. So I talked to my boyfriend what happened with the threesome. We'll just say that to avoid confusion. I'm really glad that after a long time, I had really fantastic sex again. But so in other words, she has not been having fantastic sex with her boyfriend until this other guy jumped in, right? But I love my boyfriend. We have a great relationship and I don't want to lose him. And sex with him is also not bad. So I asked him how he felt after the threesome because he was very quiet for some days. Yeah. He told me so this is interesting. He told me it is okay, but he is very confused about what happened. He asked me if the other guy can F better, and told me to answer 100% honestly. I was honest and said to him, he is better. He's great, but you're good too. And I only love you. And you can also improve. Yeah, she liked giving that answer. And he knew the answer when he asked. When you guys ask your girls these insecure questions, and I think every guy's probably been there and just doesn't want to admit to it, but you ask these questions because you are afraid of what the answer is going to be. You know the answer is probably going to be like the other guy's better. And then when she answers, even when she lies to you and says, no, you're the best, you know that that's probably not true. Or even if it is true, you won't believe her, right? Because a question like that, was the other guy better? Honestly. And again, I'm not recommending you ever do a threesome with another guy in this scenario, but even with that, you guys ask those questions about exes, and she should be volunteering that information to you. She's not volunteering that information to you. It's already in other words, without you having to ask, she should be demonstrating through either words or actions that you are better than all those other guys she's ever been with. And if she's not, and by demonstrating, I don't mean just by giving you sex sometimes and being in a commitment with you. All right. Because we know women will commit to guys who are not the best they've been with. We know women will have sex with guys who are not the best sexual partners they've ever had. So those aren't excuse me. Those aren't the proofs you're looking for, despite the social conditioning that wants you to tell you otherwise so women can lie to you, right? Make you a slave to some woman who's not excited about you. That's what the social conditioning wants to do. No, you're looking for a massive amount of enthusiasm for her to be like, wow, for her to say that's the best sex I've ever had, right? Without you volunteering the information, without you having to get it out of her. Her demonstrating, showing it through her actions. That's what you're looking for, okay? If you ask that question, or if you have to ask that question, it makes her question. I did not grab my cough drops. Damn it. It makes her have that question, right? You don't want her to have that question in her mind. That's a bad frame. And so when she answers it like this, when she tells you, oh, the other guy was bigger, or when she tells you, well, the other guy was a little better at this or whatever, because you're forcing her and you're forcing her to answer honestly. She likes it. She likes telling you. She likes the power that she has over you in your self-esteem. When you're in a vulnerable position, this is why guys are not vulnerable to women, and rightfully so. Okay? Because when you're in that vulnerable place, asking this question as this guy did, she's going to answer honestly in a way that is going to make her look or sound like she's trying to be benevolent, but she's really reveling and enjoying and humiliating you with her answer. And again, not every girl, like the girls that are honestly answering like, no, like, why, when a girl who's like uncomfortable that you asked a question like that says, why would you ask that? And of course you're better. What? That's weird. You don't notice. Like the girl who answers like that, okay, you know, she's not necessarily enjoying the power she's having over you. She's very uncomfortable because she wants you to be that guy, and you're not being that guy right now. Right. But when the girl is, you know, you're not the guy, all right, in her mind yet. And some of it is just yet, you know, you're just started having sex and she had a really good sexual relationship with her ex-boyfriend or something. Maybe it's going to take you a little time to be her best, to figure out how to push all her buttons, that sort of thing, right? To figure out each other in the bedroom. But either way, when you ask that out of insecurity and she gives you like this duplicitous answer, when she's trying to like spare your feelings, she's really not sparing your feelings. She knows she's just trying to spare the way that her own image. She's trying to not look like the bad guy, right? She wants to be the good chimpanzee. So that's why when she's trying to act like she's sparing your feelings, she doesn't actually care about your feelings. All right, not when it's an insecure question and she's in a state of wanting to have power over you. So she'll, and this happens to a lot of you guys. I know because you guys tell me about it in private. You ask some fucked up question that you know is an insecure ass question, and then she gives you a vague answer that is either, you know, that's designed to, in this case, this is pretty savage. She's like, of course, he was better. He was great, but you're good too, you know, and you can improve. You know, she liked giving that answer to him. Now, and what she's supposed, and girls will be like, well, what's she supposed to do? Lie? Well, no, I get it. I'm not coming down on her for it, but it's know this. She likes the power. You'll see in how she writes her story, because there's a ton more to it, that she likes the power she has over this guy who is not her best. You know, because if he's not her best, other guys have been better, and this other dude in this threesome has been her best. She sees herself up here, not here. So this boyfriend is someone where she's like, she doesn't respect him. She doesn't love him. And she enjoys degrading him. Why does she enjoy it? Because it's a demonstration of her power and self-worth. It demonstrates her sexual self-worth being better than this person that other people might think has high SMV, right? Well endowed, maybe he's a decent looking guy, whatever. I don't know what else he has going for him, and it's all psychological. Do you understand? Like, this is all here, dude. I don't know how much money this guy makes. We know logistically the guy, the 24-year-old boyfriend is older, probably makes more money than the 19-year-old, probably has more going for him, and has, from what it sounds like, a better physique, has more endowed, you know what I mean? Like, he's got more of the checklist items that all the black pillar and doomers say, well, you're hopeless if you don't have these things. He's got all those things, and he's getting dominated by a younger guy with less resources and less D size. Why? Psychological, dude. It's all up here. And if this guy with the bigger dong had a different frame about him, he would be dominating her, and it wouldn't even be a question. The sex would actually be different. Fundamentally, the sex would be different because most of the sex they're having is coming from a place of ego protection. The guy having to feel like he's the man because he's well endowed. I got to feel like I'm the man. It's all about him feeling like he's the man versus her experiencing intense amounts of pleasure and those two sharing an experience together. Right? Instead of it being about sharing a beautiful experience, which is what sex should be, for this dude, it was all about his ego. So she likes cutting him down. She likes giving him an answer that protects her self-image of being a good girl who's not mean, okay? But in the inside, she likes degrading him. That's the cuck psychology. And these people are not like these professional kink. I don't know if you're a professional in that, but they're not these like kink experts. They're not like, oh, I've been doing cuckold relationships for 20 years, smoking packets of Newports and looking for fat girls to take back to their trailer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not this couple here. There's this young couple who stumbled into this, but the psychology is unfolding. Why is psychology unfolding? Because you'll see the trends when you see it, you can't unsee it. The whole concept of being like red pilled, right? It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so the cuck psychology is there. And you also, how a man shows up with his inner game and his inner sense of dominance is what supersedes everything. It really does. It supersedes everything in this guy's life, So back to the story. Back to the story. If you got any comments, throw them in there. I'll look through it in between stuff. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I'm thoroughly enjoying going over this with you guys. There's a lot of like nuances here, man. There's a lot of little things, dude. But like a lot of people don't want the nuances. They just want dumb answers because there's a lot of people who are dumb out there. So it's enjoyable to have this conversation with a good audience. Like my audience, you guys are great. Most of you guys, I mean, some of the newbies that come in and then throw in a dumb comment and then just leave, I'm not talking about you, but most of you guys who stick around, and who listen to not just my stuff, but some of the stuff from my friends that are a bit more nuanced, not so interested in trying to rage bait, although my thumbnails are hilarious. I'm not really trying to rage bait things. I want to have higher level discussions. And, that's not for stupid people. That's for smarter people. And that's you guys. So congratulations on that. It's fun. It's enjoyable to have smarter discussions with intelligent people. All right. So she gives them her answer. Back to the story. She gives them her answer, and you can improve. My boyfriend had tears in his eyes. That made me a bit horny, but I felt sorry for him. Repeat this. My boyfriend had tears in his eyes. That made me a bit horny, but I felt sorry for him. I hugged him. He said that he saw that I had much more fun with the other guy than with him. He said he was happy for me that it was hot, but it also hurt his feelings. She was horny, dude, at his tears. Do you see? And Debbie's from the streets. We know that. But think about that the next time you're crying in front of your girlfriend over some level of insecurity, right? Especially if it's over, she cheats on you, she picks another dude over you, or she find that she's texting or, have an inappropriate relationship with an ex and you get upset, you cry over it, or you just get, I'm just upset over this. I can't believe you would do this. And she's like, I'm sorry. It's okay. Understand what's going on up here, dude. Understand. She can't help it. It's the chimpanzee part of her brain. All right. When she sees insecurity, when they smell, it's like a shark. If I throw a bunch of chum in the water and blood and then I jump in the water and thrash around and a shark, bites me to death, tries to eat me or bite me, what's a shark doing? Shark is doing what sharks do, dude. All right? Women do what women do. Okay? Just like men do what men do. There's certain parts of our brain that are wired for stuff, and woman is wired to smell insecurity, to smell weakness like blood in the water, and overpower that weakness, capitalize on it or overpower it, and to use it, not to make you feel better and give you a big old hug. All right? I'm not saying never be vulnerable in front of a woman, never cry, all that stuff. But be aware of what you're doing in front of your woman. If you're crying because, something really sad happened, or your brother, your parent died, or somebody, best friend gets into an accident and it can never be the same again, and you shed some tears in front of her, and you're the alpha in her life, yeah, she'll support that. She'll give you a hug. She's not going to feel good about you being in tears. If you're crying because you feel insecure because you lost your job, or because some ex-boyfriend might have been better than you and you don't like the way she answered the question, or you don't feel sexually powerful enough for her, or whatever it is, nope, I'm telling you, that's chum in the water. Okay, it's not going to work. If you don't like it, too fucking bad. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at God and science and everything else. It's just the way it is. And when you understand the way it is and you know what to do with that, it's gonna help you. Okay. Cry about an insecurity in front of your boys. They may make fun of you a little bit, and then you hopefully can find in your place to make fun of yourself. Okay, because that's the first step of not being insecure about those things anymore, is to see the humor in it, see how it's really less serious and how fucking stupid it is, and to pull yourself out of that. But some of you guys don't have good circles of men either. You don't have good circles of friends. I mean, shit, that's why I like not to just plug my group, but that's why I like my group of guys. The year-long seduction group. It's a bunch of dudes in there. We all support each other. You got to have that. That's where you're going to show those insecurities, and then your boys will keep you in check. Don't do it in front of your girl. Not about stuff like this. All right. So I told him honestly that he relies. So this is what she's saying to her boyfriend as he's sitting there crying with her feelings. I told him honestly that he relies too much on his penis size. He needs more skill in bed. He needs to learn how to eat the VJ well if he wants to F me real good. But I also told him that he is the hottest guy I've ever been with and that he can learn. He just has to give everything when he is going down on me and take way more time for foreplay so that I get really horny. He said he wants... Sorry, I'm looking at this on my phone here, and it's... He said he wants to work on himself. He also said that he is shocked that a 19-year-old guy with a penis almost half my size is so much better in bed. And he said that it triggered him every time he saw the bruises and the marks that the guy left on my body. And he also said that it was incredibly hot at the same time. He described it as a mix of humiliation and horniness. Okay. This is also dark part of male psychology. All right. Is that when guys have insecurity, they don't feel like they're enough, and they get dominated by another dude in a sense. And that domination is not physical. It's a mental domination. When another guy comes in and psychologically dominates him, so it's I just want to... Tony is echoing my comments. Having a good group of guys is crucial. It really is, man. Really is. But anyway, So back to, whoops, back to, you know, when, okay, there's something that happens with weaker men, right? So like the weak, you got to look at how mating happened, and go back to my video. My video on the destiny thing was not all about destiny. All right. Like that, this much was about him and the marriage that broke up. All right. Most of it was about female male psychology, mating psychology, and evolution. All right. So you got to look at that video too. Just because it makes, and I have timestamps there because I know I'm wordy. All right. I realize I sound like a dumb guy, you know, on the internet half the time. That's okay. All right. But I break them up into sections so you can pick the section you want out for the good videos anyway, the ones where there's a lot of material there for you to digest. But at any rate, you want to look at that stuff because it's just how men and women mate, you know, and, you know, making that point here. So when a guy feels, so when we look at how men and women evolved with mating, the top men mated with most of the women, and the guys in the below, like lower to middle, got scarce mating opportunities, and then the lower parts of men didn't mate at all. We see this in an extreme sense today because the internet sort of brings out all of these things. There's less, we'll say, social equalization. When we're talking about like the crisis with men and women and the crisis of, well, a third of men are incels and all that stuff, this is how it's always been. But we had for a while a monogamous society without it being a global sexual marketplace that was better for society as a whole. So hats off to my Christian friends, okay, who make that argument. You're correct. All right. And I know it's better because I've been to Afghanistan. All right. Anyone who's been to Afghanistan, been to Iraq, where there is, you know, polygamy, and the guys with the most resources have multiple wives. And then there's large amounts of guys at the bottom with no resources who have no mating opportunities. What you end up with is the Taliban, okay? What you end up with is angry men, all right, wanting to do violence in order to get power for themselves so that they can have mating opportunities. So harem cultures, although running a harem in your own personal life is your own personal choice, and it can be beneficial and good for those who do that. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not shaming that, okay? But from a societal perspective, it is when the whole society is like that, it's definitely more violent because more men have zero mating opportunities, and that creates violence. Men's default patterns are violence. All right, and crying about toxic masculinity and throwing feminism against the problem isn't going to change that. Actually, it makes it worse, you know, unfortunately. So yeah, back before there was a global sexual marketplace, meaning women couldn't just get on the internet and then decide to go to new places to find more eligible bachelors in the top tier. They couldn't jump on Tinder and then isolate themselves to the top 10% best looking and ignore the bottom 90%. What you had was girls in their hometowns all over the world, you know, where their selection was a handful of eligible bachelors in their hometown, you know, and so they picked the best out of the handful and they started families with them, and they tended to pair off. That was assortative mating in a sense, right? Is that what the guys in the closest proximity was their choices, and then they made selections off of that. But women can change now that closeness and proximity in their choices. By the way, so can you, men. Okay, so can you. Which is, women sometimes hate it when you do it. We talked about, my last show with John talked about geomaxing, right? That's a way to have more opportunity in your proximity as a man. Funny how women hate that, but they love it though when the roles are reversed, which it is for them most of the time. So in a global sexual marketplace, women have a lot more choice, and therefore they can go for the best of those choices, leaving a large amount of men at the bottom not able to mate. This has been that way. This has been this way forever. This is nothing new. We just took a break from that, at least to some degree, with assortative mating and monogamy in a non-global sexual marketplace. The social conditioning, social rules, and religion, and smaller towns, villages. Some people lived in big cities, but a lot of spread out. Most people lived in a smaller area where they had their options that were in front of them. And even in big cities, their options are just what's in front of them, what they can see, their social circles, the places that they go. Now with the internet, we got everywhere. We've changed it from assortative mating and isolated, isolated locations, right, to more, we'll say, a isolated sexual marketplace to a global one. Now we have a global sexual marketplace, which brings us back to just our default, which is women hypergamously choosing the best man, and then a third of men not mating. And the women that aren't mating could mate, but they don't want to mate with the bottom third. They're waiting for some, that 2 or 3 girl is an SMV 2 or 3. She's waiting for a 7 to pick her up. And that's why she's not seeing anybody for a long time, right? A lot of times. And so that's what we have now, right? I was making that point for a reason. I forgot why. It's like, oh man, I swear. Oh yeah. So how does that apply to cucking? So you have this guys in the middle, right? You can look at, I'm not bringing up my diagrams, too many buttons to press. You got these guys in the middle, right, who have scarce mating opportunities. They're not the top 20% of men who have a lot of mating opportunities. These are most of your guys. And some of those guys in the 1/3 of incels they're in the upper 1/3. They just haven't had, if they were doing the statistics on them, they just haven't had a good opportunity in a year. But they have scarce opportunities. They're the ones who are, they're the guys who don't get the girls in college and they don't know how women operate, but they get that engineering degree or become, an accountant, or they get into finance, or they get into STEM, and they get a good income. And then they find women scarcely interested in them while they're in their 30s, and they don't have the game, but they think, okay, my ship has sailed now. I'm definitely picking up on this pretty girl who wants stability, wants to settle down. Reality is, though, that girl is seeing his potential and making a compromise, because women, again, are pragmatic, and it's a cost-benefit analysis. I made a point in my Destiny video 2 videos ago. Keep referencing it because, dude, I'm telling you, that was really good shit there. Okay, like better shit than this one, better shit than a lot of videos I've done. You got to watch that one, okay? But it's not like hypergamy is an important drive, right? Being socially accepted is an important drive. Pre-selection is an important element. Like these are all important elements to the evolution of mating and how a woman perceives mating, but it's all you want a guiding principle. You want, like, the only guiding principle you have is Bruffault's law, which points to the idea, in so many words, is that it's a cost-benefit analysis, right? Women are making choices based on what she perceives it's gonna cost her, what she perceives the risk is, versus what she perceives the benefits can and will be for mating with a guy. It's all that, and it's all perceptions. Short-term versus long-term strategy, mate switching strategy, alpha bucks, beta, alpha fucks, beta bucks, all that stuff. It all boils down to a cost-benefit analysis for her. That's what it always is. And it's subjective, and it's what she sees, and it's an emotional decision, not a logical one. It's perceived benefits based on emotion versus perceived cost and perceived risk. And when you understand that, you'll understand everything you need to know about women, really. You'll understand how they select, why they select. You'll understand why your girl one moment is excited about you, and then when her mind shifts into thinking about risks and costs and not thinking so much about the benefits of being with you, why she's no longer excited about you. And that just changed within the last hour. And you're like, what the fuck? I didn't do anything. Nothing different happened. Why does that happen? This is why. It's because it's perceived cost benefits. And she has something called the reticular activating system, which can anyone's reticular activating system, which is your focus. Your focus can shift at any given moment. It shifts based on emotions, right? And sometimes there's a trigger, sometimes it's not. Highly anxious women will just shift into anxiety and shift into being hyper focused on costs, hyper focused on risks, not thinking about benefits, and they start degrading their partners. Hyper anxious women do this, and there's nothing that the guy necessarily has to do to trigger that. This is how women think. But anyway, at any rate, so for women, it's just a cost benefit. And so you got these guys in the middle that have mating opportunities because a woman just decides, like, yeah, it's not the best guy out there, but there's a benefit here. And maybe I'm reducing some of my cost and risk by going with a nice, safe guy here for long-term stuff, even though the perceived benefits are lower than going with a hot bad boy. So to make it into dumb language so it's easier to understand, I've been going for the hot bad boys, and I'm 26, 27, 28. Maybe I need to settle down with the nicer, stable guy, reduce my risk, reduce my cost by going with him, but the benefits, though, maybe aren't quite so high. But maybe I can teach him and train him and push him to do better. Maybe he can change, and maybe over time, because my mom told me that you fall in love over time. I don't know why her mom would say that, but that's what she said, right? Whatever she's been told. So maybe she settles with this guy who's the nicer guy, and maybe those benefits are greater over time, right? So she is doing a cost benefit analysis in her emotions and then deciding to go with that guy. So in the process of doing that, these guys in the middle have opportunities, right? And then going back to tribal times, they had opportunities. They just were very scarce. And so when those opportunities would happen, the guy would in the middle, because psychologically, the reason he's in the middle is because it's mostly here. It's mostly what's going on up here, dude. There are sure objective physical things, but it's mostly the psychology. And so this guy hasn't had these opportunities, and he doesn't have, he knows this girl is more interested in the hotter, more alpha, dangerous guys. And so he rationalizes, he gets an insecurity, he gets an anxiety, but with an anxiety, he's also aroused because he gets an opportunity to mate. And so what you have, I know this took me a long time to get to explanation-wise. Hope you guys aren't annoyed with it. But what you have is a situation for weaker men, for men who don't question their self-worth on the inside. They question their sense of mating power, right? They sense their sense of alphaness, okay, to use a fucked up word that makes everybody upset. A sense of alphaness, right, that is compromised inside of themselves. And so they get an anxiety, that anxiety is feeling like this girl wants to bang other dudes that are better than he is, but she's still mating with him. And the idea that she wants to have sex in general, and she still offers him a little bit of pussy, right? That makes him also aroused. So the mating opportunity makes him aroused. But with that arousal, he's fear of losing her to a better man. That makes him anxious. What you have now is the streams crossing. Ghostbusters, guys, remember Ghostbusters? It's funny, my girlfriend's younger than me and she's never seen Ghostbusters. Some of the downfalls of younger girls, I swear, they don't get movie references. Can't even make a Karate Kid movie reference. Has no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, back to the topic. Ghostbusters don't cross the streams, right? Bad things happen. Well, anxiety and worry about somebody else being better, plus arousal for your partner, neurologically, the streams get crossed. Uh-oh. Now you got a guy getting turned on at the and hating himself. He's humiliated, he hates himself, and he's turned on at the prospect of her wanting or banging another guy. This is a bad place to be, guys. Okay? We do have a control over what our brain does. We can direct what we feed our brains neurologically. We can feed it with things we want, not feed it and even negatively reinforce things we don't want. Yes, we have genetics, we have drives, we have the chimp brain, but we can direct things the way that we want. Guys who have successful monogamous relationships, for example, the chimp brain doesn't want a monogamous relationship at all. Okay, the chimp brain wants to fuck everything. That guy has to take that chimp brain, direct those drives into a monogamous place for him to receive the benefits of monogamy. It's not impossible. Okay, it's been done, can be done. I can teach you how to do it, in fact, if that's what you want, because it's all about brain changes. But if you don't have any sense of what you're doing and any intentionality and don't think about what you're feeding your brain and what you're reinforcing and what you're not reinforcing and what you're punishing or negatively reinforcing, we'll say, even though negative reinforcement and punishment are two different things, but whatever. If you're not aware of those things, you're going to negatively or you're going to positively reinforce some of the things you don't want, and you will negatively reinforce or even punish some of the things you do want. In the sense of wanting to get cucked, that is a very strong case of positively reinforcing things you don't want and negatively reinforcing maybe some things you do want. This guy, the boyfriend in this case, his lack of self-esteem, lack of assurance of himself, put him in a place to get cucked, put him in a frame of his girlfriend, keeps him in a relationship where he's getting degraded and he doesn't move out of that, and now is putting him in a place to eroticize his, humiliation. He's putting himself in a place to eroticize his own humiliation. This is the guy who's going to end up in a few years, if he doesn't redirect it, sitting on the Abe Lincoln chair in the hotel room while his girlfriend gets banged out by somebody. Now, some of you might ask, but so what, Paul? Who cares? If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. Hey, man, I agree with that to some extent, but here's the problem with that too. That guy who wants to sit in the Abe Lincoln chair, he ultimately has eroticized not feeling enough, not feeling worthy, feeling like a lesser, weaker beta male. He's eroticized this, meaning he's hanging on to being lesser for himself. He's not somebody who has self-confidence and reassurance and a healthy mindset about himself. By definition, if the guy likes this, there's something missing inside of him in order to like it. In order to want this and to cross those streams of anxiety and arousal, he has to have a sense of not feeling like he's enough. He has to believe and has to promote this emptiness and this lack of self-worth inside of himself. Who would I be a good coach if I said, you know what? I think it's good that you feel worthless in some areas of your life. I think we should really promote that and magnify that. I think you feeling like you're not worth enough and having low self-esteem, I think that's great. And in fact, I don't even think you should improve anything about yourself to try to make those feelings be different. I think you should embrace them. Feel like a terrible loser and feel like, sexually weak and sexually lacking power. Feel emasculated. Feel that sense of emasculation. In fact, embrace it and be happy with that. What kind of a coach would I be if I thought this was a good idea for guys? So no, I can't see in my brain. And I'm all about live your life. You're free to live your life. I would never shame a dude if he's like, man, I really love this. I'd be like, cool, dude. Like, that's your thing. You're not coming to me for help and I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's weird and gross, but you think it's cool? I don't care. Doesn't bother me. So I'm not threatened by it. It's fine. But if I'm looking at it from a perspective, is that optimal? No, it's terrible. And does that happen due to guys not paying attention to what their brain is doing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when guys put themselves in a mental framework of being that lesser man, instead of doing the little bit of work, 'cause it's really not that much work, to be honest, and it's kind of fun to do the work, little bit of work to be a better man. So you're not the dude. So you're the dude she picks. You're the dude she's cucking, at least mentally, other men for, instead of the guy that she wants. Maybe he'll improve, but I get a sense of sexual arousal and satisfaction degrading him. And then you're sitting there going, well, I feel horrible about myself, but I also feel aroused at the same time that I'm being degraded right now. To me, that's not a good place to be. That's like trauma bonding. It's almost like being in an abusive relationship. I mean, women can get put into abusive scenarios where they feel terrible about themselves and they feel horrible, yet they're also, aroused and rewarded by the abusive man. Like, that happens. You know what I mean? And it happens to people in abusive situations, and that doesn't make it right. So I don't know why society would make this right for men, other than the fact that it involves men, right? And it seems to be okay to abuse men in our society, and it seems to be okay to put men in a position like this where they may eventually just self-select, take themselves out of the gene pool eventually over something like this. I think society seems pretty well okay with that, unfortunately, because we're not in a male-driven society. We're in a female-driven society that's actually driven by weaker males. So we could say weaker men driving, supporting the female narrative is really what it is. But anyways, my girlfriend made me this green juice today. It's really good. It's really healthy for me. She's keeping me healthy, guys. Anyway, so we're already, this is going to be a part 2. Has to be, because there's so much more here. All right. So he described, let's see how much more on this one post. Like, she has like so much here. Okay. So I'm going to read the rest of this and I'll get to questions. All right. So suddenly he starts kissing me and touching me all over. And after 2 or 3 minutes, he was on his knees. So this is after they had this talk. And he described that he had a mix of humiliation for himself and horniness. And then he starts initiating sex. Okay. And so now the guy who's been cucked is in a situation where he's going to try to prove himself. If you're trying to prove yourself to a woman, that means that you are already in a deficit. That means that you're a lesser man trying to prove something else. There's a difference between improving yourself and just getting better versus trying to prove yourself and to make yourself better in order to prove yourself to her. Those are 2 different things. I'll repeat that again because sometimes it's hard to understand. Making yourself better as a man because you're already a powerful, strong, resilient man who is a human being, which means you're not perfect, but you'll take your inner strength and resilience, okay, and put it towards making yourself better. And you're doing it because it benefits you, benefits maybe the relationship, benefits her. It's just something that you decided. That's a framework of a strong man improving himself. A man coming from a framework of, I need to get myself better at sex to prove to my girl I'm the better choice, then I can be the better sexual partner. That is coming from a position of weakness internally. You'll never improve yourself and be the better partner if you're coming from that weakness. Because and you'll see how. I'm going to show you in this story in next week or next show when we continue with the story, because it's that important. You'll never be enough for her or for yourself if your internal framework is, I'm not good enough and I need to make myself better to prove myself to her, to prove that I am a worthy lover. Dude, no, that is a weak ass beta framework that will fuck you in the end, or rather leave you unfucked as she leaves you for another guy. Okay, that will never work. Because there will be so much pressure and anxiety that you'll put on yourself with that improvement And that attempted improvement on your sexual skill will be riddled with pressure and anxiety on your part. And she will enjoy all of that. She will enjoy all of that because it's a sense of power she will have over you. She won't enjoy it from the sense of being in awe and enamored by your power and feeling that dominance and feeling that power that you have over her, which is what she really wants. She won't feel it from that sense. She'll like it in a sense that she's being supplicated to from a lesser man that she has power over and she can control. And she will enjoy that power she has over you, and that will promote or support her to meet another man who has power, that has the dominance of power over her that she would really want. You see, the power dynamic is so fucked here. If your mental internal framework is, I'm going to make myself better to prove to her I'm a good guy, that's not the place to be. You make yourself better because you already are better on the inside. Okay? You already are the man. You're just lacking skill sets in certain areas because you're human. And as soon as you put your effort, time, energy into learning and bettering yourself in those skill sets, even if those skill sets are sex, you will inherently be better all around for yourself and for everybody else. But you're better because you're already the guy who's capable of being better. You're not someone who's trying to get better to prove, because you're not capable and you're not the guy and you're going to try to get better to prove something. Two different things. Okay. You got to understand the difference, because a lot of you guys don't, and this is why your self-improvement, in terms of bedroom skill and in terms of game and having better relationships and having better frame over your girl, this is like a lot of times why you fail, because your inner game isn't straight. So you're coming from this position of weakness. So at any rate, he's going to prove to her something. He starts eating her out on the couch. She says, and I realized that he gave everything to satisfy me to the maximum. He was extremely passionate and also used his hands and touched me all over. I was absolutely the center of his attention, a feeling that I usually do not have in our sex life. I did not reach orgasm because he was a bit clumsy. He had no real rhythm, but I absolutely loved it. What did I just say? She'll love it, but it won't be because of why you think. And arguably, although I can't say 100% sure, but arguably, if it was the other guy with more psychological dominance, he might have been able to do the same exact moves and she may have orgasmed a couple times. Because he was coming from a position of weakness, mentally and psychologically, she was not in a position to orgasm. She was just in a position to enjoy the supplication that's happening. All right. So maybe there is technique that was off. Maybe there wasn't. You know what I mean? Sexual technique only enhances your psychological framework in the bedroom or takes away from it. Okay. That's what technique does for you. Technique does not necessarily replace that psychological framework. All right. This feeling he gives of everything my pleasure. After 15, 20 minutes, I pulled his head toward me and kissed him and said, "You did really well. You're a good boy." After that, we still banged. He imitated the position with which the other guy banged me to orgasm, doggy style, and at the same time touching me with his hands. It didn't have the rhythm I need at all. And he came after 2 minutes or so. So he's trying to imitate what the other guy is doing, but he doesn't have the skill to do so. And his whole framework is, I'm going to try to prove something. So it's not, she's enjoying it, but not for the reasons he would like. He apologized directly for having orgasms so quickly, but I kissed him and said, "That was the best sex I've had with you. It was great. You're such a good boy." I mean, it's just brutal, dude. Brutal. Women in their nature can be brutal, man. Absolutely. If you allow for that. I mean, He told me he came fast because I am very hot, and the scratches and bruises who are still there from the threesome made him horny. Again, we're crossing streams. Crossing streams is going to end up in the Abe Lincoln chair. I thought it was sweet that he tried to give me what I needed. It was so sweet. I really had fun. The vibe of him giving all for me instead of acting like he was the king with his giant ding dong, with his giant D, was hot. I love this guy. I really want to have good sex with him, and it is improving. But I've not yet talked to him. So she says all that. But I've not yet talked to him. I know. You guys like, isn't that sweet? I've not yet talked to him about inviting the other guy who banged me so well again. I really want this experience again. I also haven't talked to him about the open relationship yet. I think it is not the right time yet, but he has also said before the two threesomes that after the two threesomes that he was interested in having an open relationship. Oh no, he said before the two threesomes, he was interested in opening the relationship. At the same time, I was skeptical, but now I want that too. So you see, I'll pause here. You see what happens there, right? This guy thought he was king of the bedroom because he was ego protecting. And instead of paying attention to his partner, I mean, if he had paid attention to his partner, he'd probably recognize that Debbie's from the streets, and he would probably just drop her off from the streets in which she had came and find somebody else, right? That would be what he would have done if he had been paying attention to his partner. But instead of paying attention to his partner, he was more focused on himself and protecting his own ego because he was well endowed. So I'm Big King Dick, right? And that was his whole framework, right? And so with that focus, oh yeah, let's have threesomes. Let's open up this relationship. I want to bang other girls because I feel like I'm the king. But she wasn't objectively treating him like he was the king. She wasn't objectively experiencing it like that. She wasn't objectively feeling it. And so his focus was all on himself and not on, the experience he's actually having with this girl. And because of that, he was not even close to her best. What happens? She resents this guy in his arrogance. But it's only arrogance because the guy wasn't her best. It's confidence if the guy was her best. If the guy was the best, he wouldn't be ego protecting. So a lot of this stuff on Big King Dick guy would have been toned down, and it would have been more of a confidence, right? And she would have been turned on and happy about that confidence and not resentful. But because he wasn't her best, this confidence actually ends up being arrogant. And it is arrogant because arrogance is overconfidence because you're believing in your skills, talents, and abilities is far beyond where they actually are and where the objective results lie. Hey, you believe in yourself, skills, talents, and abilities, and you have the objective results. You know what I mean? That's different. That's confidence. It's when you don't have it. Having belief in yourself, skills, talents, and abilities for what's true, meaning, okay, I know I can be a girl's best, right? I know I can learn more about sex. I know I can learn more about game and have a better life for myself and a better relationships. So cool. I'm going to now do that. That's confidence. Confidence is in knowing where you're short. You know what? I don't know anything about this. Gosh, I don't know what to do if a girl brings this problem to the table. Maybe I should find some answers, That's confidence, right? This guy had an arrogance about him, and she was happy to put him in his place using another guy, cucking him, all right? And although she's sitting here, he's now in a position where he couldn't even get a hard on during the threesome because, of course, this poor guy had his ego smashed, his whole identity smashed. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He has no frame now. And what is this? What happens when you don't have frame as a man? You're seeing what happens. Okay. Debbie's a little bit savage and Debbie's from the streets, but girls are still not going to treat it well if you lose this frame. You know what I mean? You'll lose the girl one way or the other. Debbie just is capitalizing on it. So he has lost a frame. It's not like he's being treated like he's being treated how she feels about him, which is that he's a lesser man, you know? And so she's just toying, she's enjoying the attention, just like she enjoys it. Women enjoy attention from beta males, lesser males, to boost their self-esteem, right? She's enjoying it sexually, but she's not in the way that he would want. You know what I mean? So for him, it's a complete mind fuck. And his better choice would be to bag his ego, get out of this relationship altogether, and completely pull back and recock and rethink his whole life and start to rebuild himself, because she is saying he's the most attractive guy. She said in the story, and I imagine meaning it because she's being quote unquote honest. She's saying he's the most attractive guy she's been with the most endowed that she's been with too. You know, so that's why she went with this guy. He was the most attractive, was the most endowed, but he was arrogant about that. He wasn't focused on the relationship, wasn't focused on the girl, didn't have game. And because of that, his lack of game and his lack of game and frame. All right. Frame is, part of game. In order to have game, you have to have frame, usually. Sort of. Right. To have good game, we'll say. To have good, solid game, you have to have good, solid frame. He had none of those things. And now he's in this fucked up position, right? So I think about the other guy from a coaching perspective, and I'm like, fuck, dude. This guy needs to leave Debbie to go pursue life with the other dude and just, stop allowing Debbie to use him for her self-esteem boost. And remember, it's a pragmatic relationship. Berfault's law, women will use a guy for what they can until there's nothing to use them for anymore. Okay. You need there to be an emotional connection, and for that use to be because you're the best guy she would want to be with. That's the reason, right? She's with you, not being used as a tool for self-esteem or resources or any of these other things, right? And so finishing this little paragraph here, she has this, she's trying to train this guy to be the better guy, but what's she really thinking about when this guy's trying super hard to be the man for her, and I'm going to follow, she told me I need to go down more and I need to go start slower, I need to do this, so she's like training him to be a better sex partner, and he's a good little chimp. He's a good little chimp doing what he can do to be the best sex partner for her. But in the meantime, she's just thinking about the other guy and thinking about enjoying and like, this is cute. He's such a good boy. Gosh, hopefully we can open up the relationship. I really want this other guy to bang me. That's where her thoughts are, because it's hypergamy, right? Like, she's going to be thinking about the dude that banged her the best. It's just the way it is. She's not a bad person. She's just from the streets, but she's also thinking this is the way women think, dude. This is just the way it is, All right. Whether they're from the streets and they are very loose in their moral and degenerate behavior kind of stuff, or whether they're more conservative, the thought process, the psychology is still there. It's just manifesting itself up behaviorally in different ways, but it is still there. So she says, I'm going to talk to him about it next few days. I'd love to see the other guy on the weekend because I can't stop thinking about what he did to me some days ago. I want sex with that guy again, and I can't stop thinking about him. I want him to make me orgasm in front of my boyfriend again. This is confusing for me because it sounds mean, but it makes me very horny. I will talk about everything with my boyfriend. I hope he wants to open the relationship. All right. So that's the end of that story for this episode. We're going to do another one where there's follow-up, but there's a lot to be learned from this, right? It's like, she's alpha widowed now by this guy who had half the size of a penis, the other guy, literally. She talks in the next episode where she's more specific. Not that women are good with measurements or anything, but she's talking about this guy being like 4.5 inches, like a little bit below average. And then her boyfriend's like 7.5 inches, 8 inches. Like the boyfriend's is big. And this other guy that rocked her world was small. but it wasn't the size, right? That mattered at all. In fact, if the guy with the bigger size knew what to do psychologically, mentally, and that manifested itself into sexual skill, she wouldn't be, thinking this stuff about the new guy necessarily. It didn't come down to physical objective things, is my point. You guys who operate like autists, to put a word to it, you guys who don't understand how women operate, and you're thinking like an engineer and over analyzing and focusing on physical and focusing on the data and blah 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 blah. You don't understand how women work, dude. You just don't, And so a lot of you guys are looking for and you do it to ego protect. The same reason why this guy was thinking he was king shit because he had a big dick. It's the same reason why you guys think you understand women, because the data, and this and objectively and blah blah and attraction studies. Because you guys are fucking like that, and you don't listen to women or pay attention to them or look at the emotional aspect of things. Some of you guys who are like that, you're missing it big time. You're just completely missing it. And you'll just argue like the 8-inch penis is better than the 4.5-inch penis. None of that shit matters. None of it matters. And I fucking tell you guys, dude, I get you guys in my DMs. I get you guys publicly on my Twitter sometimes when you're not just being. Twitter's a dumpster fire, by the way, most of the time over there, but definitely rarely a higher level conversation happening there. But, when you guys ask me these questions, like, and you're so hung up on your dick, or you're so hung up on your height, or you're so hung up on some shit, that the other guy or other guys had that you don't have, and you're not getting it, dude. And the reason you're not getting it is because of your own anxiety. This is an inner game problem, right? This is your own anxiety. This is an inner game problem. And that is why you're not getting it. You can't see that it is not just one or two data points. That's all women care about and blah, blah, blah. Because the second you go with that, you'll have floods of women, just because there's not a lot of guys collectively that think that way. And so you'll collectively have floods of women capitalizing on it. Why? Blood in the water, guys. That's why. When you have that insecurity, women love it. They flock to it, and you're right. It's only big dicks we want. Blah, raw. And you guys are like, no, my average penis will never be enough. It's like, it's just like, blah, blah. That's what they do. As soon as you have a little insecurity, it's like, they jump on it. They capitalize on it. They love it. They love it because they are getting, it's cuck psychology. They are getting their self-esteem boosted by having power over you. All right. They love the power they have over you. And they only have that power. You could be walking around with a 3-inch dick, right? Which you can actually make, if you are 3, you can make it a 4 by Sterling's material. You can make it enough, right, for a girl, be at least in the bottom end of the bell curve where it could be enough. I understand size does matter. I'm not saying there isn't importance there, right? There's some level of it. But anyways, you'd be the smaller end of that bell curve, but you could have, if you have enough, everything is about here, dude. If you have no insecurity and full confidence of what you have, then there's no blood in the water. Girls can't come in droves to be like, yeah, your little dick isn't enough. Ha 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 ha. Like they can't, they only do that shit because it's blood in the water. And they're women, dude. That's what women do. Women, that's why sharks are going to bite you if you're swimming around and thrashing around with some chum in the water. Women are going to come at you and flock. And the ones that don't flock there are going to giggle and laugh about it because that's what they do. That's what they do. They're girls. That's what girls do. Why? They're not bad people, but they don't want weak ass genes in the gene pool. Takes up all the resources. Tribal, 200,000 years of evolution in tribes make women want to shame and degrade the weak men when they see it so that they don't mate. It's a warning to the rest of the women not to create offspring with that weak man because that's going to make kids that are weaker and not a positive addition to the tribe. They will drain resources, and they will, and you know what? Arguably, thinking about it, the biggest drain of resources in the tribe would probably be emotionally, mentally unstable men that can't produce shit. Guys who are not going to learn how to hunt good, learn how to do things well because they're mentally and emotionally unstable, riddled with insecurities. They're going to be the rapists. They're going to be the incels. They're going to, I blew my video on. Hopefully YouTube won't just cancel my video because I use the grape word. They're going to be those people, right? They're going to be the men that women fear, are going to be the dudes who are having a lot of these insecurities wrapped up in themselves and who don't produce. And so you're signaling that you're potentially one of those guys when you bring out all this stuff and you have this, this black and white, very surface level thinking about things like D size, things like height, things like physique, things like wealth, even things like status. I mean, it's not to say these things aren't important, but what's more important is right up here, dude, your mental framework. And if you feel weak, it's blood in the water, dude. Women are wired to call you out on it, to laugh at you, to ridicule you, to humiliate you, and to make sure you are not a mating opportunity for somebody else. They may even keep you in a relationship, slow drip sex on you, so that you provide them with resources and effort and time, maybe some good dad energy, but they're not going to respect you and they're not going to love you. They're not going to treat you like the man you want to be treated like with, because you're not showing up like the man that they want to be in love with. And that's what it boils down to. And they cannot help their wiring in this sense, and expecting them to be different and being mad that they're not different and hating women isn't going to change it. I don't hate that women are like this. I just know that it's part of the thing. It's just part of what they are. And I enjoy, women down to my relationship for what it is, and for what they are, and understanding, that there's healthy ways too of executing drives and instincts and unhealthy ways. And you look for the healthy ways and you build those healthy things in your relationship. So hopefully you guys liked it. There's going to be a part 2 because there's more to the story. For those of you guys who want more sexual power, though, I do have link in the description, wood and fire, and I want you to click that link and order it. So I'll do a better review. I don't have any pill bottles near here, but so Sterling Cooper created a boner pill. It's a great boner pill. All right. Now here's the thing on it. It's not a gas station boner pill with God knows what in it. It's very low level of ingredients that are natural ingredients that help your overall health and help build the foundation of your circulatory and sexual health so that it allows you to have stronger and better erections, last longer in bed. Now, I had been, prior to Sterling Cooper coming up with this product, I had been supplementing already with a lot of these things just as a natural health benefit, health supplement. Things like citrulline, for example, which is an amino acid that improves blood flow. Things like beet juice, and that helps with circulation and helps with bad forms of inflammation. So there's a number of things in the product that I already was taking and buying as separate supplements. It's now all rolled up into one. And when I look at the cost, it's actually kind of about the same, maybe a little cheaper even to buy Sterling's product. And it's already like figured out. Like I looked at the amounts, because a lot of times when people create a supplement, they'll advertise the ingredient, but there's not enough of that ingredient to actually have create the difference that it was researched to have. That makes any sense. So someone might be like, oh, we got citrulline, but then there's only like a quarter of a gram or something of citrulline or whatever. It's just not enough. And so when I looked at the ingredients and the supplement, it's all quality stuff with enough levels of those ingredients to actually have the effect. And now you're not having to buy 6 different things and put together a concoction every single day to do your supplements. You just take these little pills and they work and they're safe, and it's not the same as taking a Viagra or a Cialis in a way that it's not a medical or pharmaceutical thing. It's a nutritional supplement. And I tell you what, though, you will have the benefits provided you don't have any serious issues. I don't know. I didn't have any like erectile dysfunction or anything. So I don't know. Maybe some guys will have testimonials who had that before, who took the product and did better. But I will say just, I dumped all my other supplements and just take this now. And dude, it's as good, if not better. I feel like it's more consistent, to be honest. Like I feel good like every single time. And I was doing pretty good before. So it's not like there were no issues, but I do definitely feel optimized every single day. And I know that my health is better because I'm taking the supplement versus taking the actual gas station boner pill. Not going to be so good for your health necessarily. There's some things there that maybe aren't good for you and the levels aren't good. So at any rate, link is in the description. It's my product link where Sterling is technically sponsoring me in this sense, right? And I'm an affiliate. So there's an affiliate link there. Try it. I don't support things that don't work. So I'm supporting this. And so that's my last little spiel. Other than if you wanted to do something for free, jump on the email list too. All right. Let me look at this chat before we close off, because maybe someone's got a cool question or something to say that's worth talking about. So going through. Yep, that was the story. So Z understood before we even started. It's not all about size, man. It's really not. What do we got here? What are skills, techniques men can learn to better sexual performance? I know Sterling's stuff is good so far. Look, I talk about that behind a paywall in my seduction group. So jump in the seduction group if you want the scoop. I don't have a separate course for it. There's a ton of good skills. And what I would focus though more on is the sexual psychology and understanding what different techniques do for you and how to do different sexual techniques from a psychological perspective. Because for a woman, the orgasm happens between the ears before anything happens in her body. Okay. And so you have to set up the conditions for her to have intense and explosive orgasms. It's not just mechanical. If it was mechanical, then the guy in this story with the larger D, right? He would have been satisfying her and popping her into orgasms right away because the size of him was enough to hit more nerve endings in theory. But because he didn't approach the sexual acts in a way that was psychologically conducive of her relaxing her body and experiencing the sensations she would want to feel in an intense way, when that guy was with the bigger D was jumping into sex with her, it was subpar for her. And she didn't orgasm most of the time, is what she reported in the story. Guy with almost like literally half the size, she needed a lot of warm up. She needed some other things. And not every girl needs that warm up. Sometimes they do. And it's all conditional. Like some girl, the same girl could need a lot of warm up today. And then, she could have a crazy public sex that lasts 2 minutes and come really hard from it tomorrow, so it's also circumstantial. There's a lot going on psychologically in a woman, and you have to understand how to recognize that psychology and those things that are there. And so the sexual techniques, whether you're hair pulling or choking or doggy style, or whether you're really sensual and pulling her face close to yours while you're in a missionary, or some of these different things, right? Like it's just technique. Who cares? It's not an autistic list of check the block of the things you like. I like a spank. I know I don't like a choke. I like a hair, but only a little bit of hair, not too much. It's not a checklist of techniques. It is a experience that is a psychological and emotional experience for her that builds throughout the sexual encounter. And she's in different moods also, starting in the beginning of that psychological, that sexual scene. We'll call it a scene. All right. If we're going to use BDSM terms. So in that scene, a girl's starting off in different mindset. She could have had a long, hard day and maybe wants a moderate amount of sex to get a nice little release and nothing too crazy. And then maybe she's got a lot of buildup and really horny. And in another encounter, she wants to get smashed really hard and abrupt and have it just be just this whole adventure of really intense and hard feelings that's going to make her feel sore the next day. Like she really feels like she wants that domination. Maybe the next day it's like she doesn't want all of that and she wants it to be more sensual. Like the same girl can want different things. Her emotional state, which is going to be based on hormones, based on what's going on in her life at that time, based on her partner too and what he's stimulating. There's so much that goes into this that's beyond, left, right, up, down, Hadouken on her clitoris, right? And so you guys are a lot of times really focused on that. I'm not saying you, but a lot of guys really focused on technique, and that's only a part of it. So what I recommended in your searches and your understanding of it is that if you're looking at technique, you got to be looking at it as a complete system and experience, not just isolated techniques that are good or bad. It doesn't work that way. And so there's a psychological and emotional component to this, and understanding sexual psychology is what's going to put you in a place of being able to know what your partner needs and wants and being able to create really intense experiences. It's a longer topic, man. And I don't know how to have that discussion too much on YouTube and really to give that away. Because it's not really beneficial for me to do so. YouTube is not going to support that video. And I don't have, my audience may or may not support it, but the YouTube is, I get reach to you guys and to new people who need help based on algorithmic patterns. Yes, you guys clicking and liking and watching, and my ability to improve the delivery of my message and thumbnails and all that marketing stuff, that all weighs into it. But at the end of the day, there's a barrier, which is an algorithm that is set by the platform. Certain things will not go through that algorithm well and push out my information. One of those things is sex, okay? Giving sexual instruction on YouTube doesn't tend to work too well for my brand and all this stuff. And there's other important things to talk about. And so guys won't get like that information on having, let's say, the right mental framework for structuring the relationship or handling cheating or handling a breakup or whatever, like the things that guys need also. They won't get that information from me because I'm talking about how to smash a girl right. And YouTube's like, nuke this dude's channel. This channel is probably already pretty much nuked anyways, but it's a thing. But it is something I talk about, like I said, behind a paywall, in private. If you're part of my seduction group, you'll get all that information. So I suggest you really want to learn that you actually set that appointment. You do that. All right. Well, it works with Debs. I don't know what that means. So let's see here. Looking at more comments here. Don't blame the shark women. Back when I was married, I didn't even notice how fat I got. Right. That's interesting. The mention, Sluggo. Too much comfort dulls you. It does. It not only dulls you, but that alludes to a very important concept, right? Like when he was married, he didn't realize how out of shape or fat he got. He didn't realize it because his reticular activating system was not focused on looking in the mirror and seeing himself in that way. Right there, that statement is so important. Thank you for saying it, because it's not just about comfort deluding you, but it's about how your mind plays tricks. Your mind can only focus on certain things in any given time, and you will miss glaring things out in the objective world about yourself and about your partner and about how things are going. Every one of us will. It doesn't matter, right, how good you are at this stuff. You miss those things. So there's a subjective nature And this is what frame's about. There's a subjective nature to how we perceive reality. You have to know that. You have to understand that. And when you understand that, then you know where to put your focus so you don't miss important things and lose, have glaring problems, lose yourself, lose your relationships, miss your goals, miss opportunities. Your reticular activating system can only put in your attention and awareness so many things. And so you learning how to focus on the right things is important, and strengthening your inner game so that you are not bogged down by negativity, anxiety, feelings of shortcomings, feelings that are unproductive, that are designed maybe to keep you, from putting yourself out there and essentially safe in a way, but are really going to harm you overall because you won't see other things. You know what I mean? These guys who ego protect, it doesn't matter. I tell you guys, I'd say it. You don't see it. You can't fucking see what I'm saying, and that's okay. You just got to keep at it. If you're here, that means you want to see. If you jump on my email list for free, you're going to see more. You'll want to see. If you jump into my group for a year, you're definitely going to see eventually. You have no choice now. All right. And so it's increasing this awareness is so important because, hey, man, Sluggo will tell you, he was married, didn't even notice how fat he got. We've all been there where we're doing something, we're in a place, we don't even know it, right? And women do that too, constantly. And so that's why we have frame and we direct our relationships in the right place. So they don't do that in a way that's so unproductive that it nukes your relationship or puts you guys in a bad spot. All right. I'm looking for some good things to hit up here. Yep, I'm guilty of getting the girl I want and then getting comfortable and lazy. And then that's when the shitstorm would hit. Yep. So I had a guy in my group once say, rightfully so, it's like taking your medicine, doing the Zoom calls we do, reading a post or two in our community, occasionally, journaling, right? Doing the morning routines that we promote or the daily routines that are designed for your mind. All of these little daily practices and little things and having community support, it's like taking your medicine every day. It's like you have this social conditioning out there that is pointing you towards doing all the wrong and terrible things that are going to fuck you, right? And so you do the little things every day to counter that narrative and it points you in the right direction. The minute you stop doing those little things, the social conditioning will start to poison your mind. It's like a mind virus. It'll take over, and next thing you know, you'll be looking back and you'll be like, fuck, dude, I'm complacent and a shitstorm is now here in my relationship. I got lazy. Okay, that's the thing. You guys think I got the commitment now, I can be lazy. No, the commitment's good, and the commitment does buy you some leeway on your fuck ups, but it's not going to solve, the problems. You have to take your medicine a little bit every day. There's a mind virus that is out there, and if you don't take your medicine and you skip days and you skip weeks of taking your medicine, that mind virus will take over, and your behavior, your beliefs, and your emotional reactions will be someplace different than where you want it. All right. Such good points. All right, guys, talking about workouts, but you know what? That's good. I'm glad you're talking about workouts. All right. Boom. Got some fires. Well, good. That was a great Catwoman. Yeah, we don't. Her outcomes are not probably good for long-term success relationship, for sure. But this isn't a show where we're sitting here trying to get women their comeuppance or rejoice when a girl falls flat on her face. It's not what we're here for. Do you know what I mean? So that's a good question. Expect part 2 next week, Tuesday. I generally do a Tuesday show. Okay. But because of schedule with traveling with clients, and I still do some things for the government, I tend to not publish an exact time every single week, because that may have to change. It usually does. But generally speaking, you can look for an announcement for a Tuesday show somewhere around the beginning of the week. Even on Tuesday, just to circle back around. That's why too, if you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell. YouTube doesn't always like me, but you should get notified when I'm going to be on live, or when I'm doing a show, or when I post something. So that notification bell can help, but we should be expecting around the same time next week, Tuesday. I got more to follow on the story, because it's a lot more things that'll reinforce some stuff, right? So that being said, don't forget about those links in the description. If you want to see a good dumpster fire, go on my Twitter, and that's it. See you guys.